All right, good afternoon and welcome to a special edition of the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast. With us, as always, is Jeff Chadia. No, he's in the press box. The press box is kind of a hot mess with everything that's going on at Arrowhead right now. But Eric Eager from Sumer Sports, Soren Petro from Sports Radio 810 WHB with you. Thanks for joining us, those of you that are catching us here for a quick halftime. And obviously, the biggest thing is Patrick Mahomes knocked out of the game. Eric, not returned, is on the sideline. This is the worst case scenario for the Kansas City Chiefs.
It is for sure. And, anybody that's had a high ankle sprain before, you sort of see all the characteristics there. You even saw, like, right at the end of the Jaguars last drive, you saw him trying to squat, because one of the things that happens when you have a high ankle sprain is it comes up and through your tibia. I think it is a good sign, and I'm not, obviously trying to predict anything. I think it is a good sign that they went in, got him an x-ray, had to have, right? And then he came back in with his uniform on, probably in the case that Chad Henne got hurt. But you look at Andy Reid in this game, takes the ball. I mean, I tweeted this out. Chiefs are going to have to carry Patrick Mahomes for the first time in a long time. And, you got a big kick from Bucker from 50 yards in weather. You got a sack from Frank Clark to knock the Jags at a field goal range. And then you got a 98-yard drive where, Henne picked up a couple third downs with his arm. And, obviously you had the big run by Pacheco. I think Andy's looking at this and saying, you're up a touchdown. You get the ball to start the second half. Famous last words, but, like, I think that he thinks he can scheme his way out of this one.
Yeah, and I think that's what he's going to have to. I mean, he has no choice. One way or another, they're going to have to find a way to do it. And the running game is going to have to be a big part of it as well. And we saw Isaiah Pacheco pounding the rock. And look, I'm a big believer good football teams rally around a backup quarterback for one game. Everybody will step up their game. I think you're seeing that at this time. I think that's what you're getting out of the Chiefs, and is people are stepping up. And I think the defense is a big part of it. They have to step up. This cannot become a boat race, because offensively this team can't stay with it.
For sure. And they did. They gave up a big play to Kirk that was dropped. They got some, fortune there, which is good. I mean, the best thing that you could do if you're Andy Reid is get the ball, at the 25 to start the second half, and, take half a quarter, score a touchdown. And that's really, even a field goal, but half a quarter and score a touchdown with your run game, with, guys like Tony who are getting open, Kelsey. I mean, he's going to be a Hall of Famer here if they're going to win this one. And then, hopefully your defense can make tackles, and they've done that today, by the way. I think that they've, missed a couple, but for the most part, guys have gotten down. That Jalen Watson tackle in that second down, was a underrated huge part of this football game. Going in up 17-10 is such a better edge than going up 17-14.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think that's going to be one of the big questions here. And listen, I'm not sure why there's quite so much passion on the broadcast for Trevor Lawrence. I think he's a fine quarterback. I mean to take nothing away from him, but, we're watching a team. I think he was 9 for 13 for 73 yards. I mean, you saw the difference. Chad Henne is playing at a Trevor Lawrence level right now. And I don't think it's, out of the realm of possibilities that with Andy Reid coaching him, that Chad Henne equals what Trevor Lawrence has done. I'm a little perplexed by the view. It's 17-10. Jaguars are there. They were obviously a second half team last week. Not trying to say they're not there, but the good news for the Kansas City Chiefs is this is Trevor Lawrence and not Tom Brady. There's a big difference between those two quarterbacks.
Yeah, and this, when you've, been basically, on the cusp of, like, lose. I mean, this is a team that was 4-8, 2-6. Last week they were down 27-0. This is a team that, is going to run out of gas faster than the Chiefs do, right? So if you as a Kansas City Chiefs team can rally around the backup quarterback for 2 more quarters, your defense can fly around, you can get pressure, which they have gotten pressure today. Kylan Saunders made a really big play on that drive where there was the tripping that knocked them out of field goal range. I think that, the Jaguars could come back and win this. There's no doubt about it. But I think the Chiefs are in a position right now where they are ahead and can hold on. I don't think, by the way, Beju, I don't think that Mahomes comes back. But yeah, I could be wrong. Honestly, if he went in there and got an x-ray and there's no broken bones, and he's like, that's probably what they saw. and he's wearing a jersey and all that kind of stuff. So I do think he's available. I just think they would prefer to play Henny the rest of the game.
Yeah, and that's the thing. What do you do? Like, if we're talking, I'm with you. I don't think there's a fracture, or I don't think he's standing out there with shoulder pads on. Right? I think this is something that they'd like to not have to go to him. And listen, I think it's the right decision. I don't know that you can go to him. He looked like a sitting duck. Right? This offensive line. I think if anything comes from this, the concept of Orlando Brown being okay at left tackle is wrong. And we've discussed this throughout the course of the year. And I'm not just talking about the injury, but this is why whatever it takes, whatever else has to be sacrificed price-wise, do what it takes to get the top shelf left tackle.
Yeah, absolutely. I think to me, it's one of those situations where we saw the Chiefs trade Tyreek Hill. We saw the Chiefs spread out their risk. If they win this football game, we're going to see the fruits of that labor, because I don't think Tyreek Hill necessarily elevates the Chiefs in a situation like this as much as their defenders. However, I think that a left tackle keeps them out of this situation way more often than not. So I do think that there's going to be some motivation here to get a real left tackle into the building, whether that be Tunsil, who played at all pro level this year, or drafting a guy. I absolutely agree with you. I think that Orlando Brown was playing that way in large part because the second half yielded a very sort of simple set of edge defenders for him to block.
Yeah, that and I think a mobile Patrick Mahomes makes all left tackles better. We know eventually he's not going to be mobile. Quarterbacks play long after they can still see the defenses, throw the football, and react long after their legs are not a weapon, right? But you still want to be able to shuffle the feet and move around in the pocket, and that's what you can't risk is prematurely aging the legs of Patrick Mahomes and then taking away at least the niftiness that guys in their mid-30s can still have. Like I said, shuffling their feet. I think if anything comes from this game, it should be that you clearly have to be looking to upgrade at left tackle. I'm not going to sit here and say if Orlando Brown starts next year, or if Orlando Brown has a contract, that it's insanity. That's not the case. You have to find the opportunity. But if opportunity is there, it has to be seized by this franchise, because I think we've seen this is our biggest fear. And it's more likely to be realized in the postseason. This is twice that Patrick Mahomes has been hurt in the postseason. Why? Better teams, better talent. Right? When you go up against the big boys, mediocre players are going to get beat. And frankly, that's what Orlando Brown is. And that has to be the calling card. And I'll give it to the Baron. Baron's like both tackles, right? Agreed. I mean, they have to work. And if they could upgrade one, then it gets easier to help on the other side. But I think that's one of the things that has to be taken away. Travis Kelce has had a huge day, 10 catches, 55 yards, and 2 touchdowns. A couple of statistical things. He moved into past Michael Irvin for 4th place all time on playoff receiving yards. The Mahomes to Kelce touchdown tied them for 2nd all time with 12 touchdown connections in the postseason, ties them with Montana and Rice behind only Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski. So a couple of statistical milestones that have been met along the way. But the second half has to be Chris Jones and Isaiah Pacheco, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Frank Clark, we've already seen him active in this one. Karlaftis is a second half guy. Jawan James is a mismatch for him. Walker Little is a mismatch for Clark, so they have to get home there. I would hope one turnover by the defense could really seal this game. And you've seen Nick Bolton. He's already gotten his hands on 2 passes in this game, so he's flying all around. Willie Gay, by the way, I thought had a really good first half, coming off the edge, being really active. And on the offensive side of the ball, it's Pacheco and it's McKinnon, right? McKinnon's going to get the dump. I mean, McKinnon could catch 11 balls in this game. If they ever get in a position where they're behind in this one, I think Henny's going to throw a lot of passes to Jerick McKinnon. You're going to see Tony a lot as well. So I think it's going to be Tony. I think it's going to be Kelce and McKinnon in the passing game. I honestly don't think Valdez-Scantling or anybody down the field like Smith-Schuster gets a target in the second half of this game.
Yeah, and that's one of the scary things, though. Do they start jumping the routes on the underneath part of things? Chad Henne at some point probably has to take a shot just to keep him honest. If anything, just throw it beyond everybody, just so that the DBs and the safeties don't start sitting down in some of those routes. But I come back to it. This offensive line looked like it fired itself up when they saw Patrick Mahomes go down. The blocking was good. Isaiah Pacheco was running with a lot of physicality. It's becoming more of a Pacheco game than a McKinnon game. That's what one of my friends who's here at the house said to me. He's like, it looks like Pacheco's going to be his day, not McKinnon's day. But all the weapons are there for this team to do it. Like I said, rally around the backup quarterback, get it done in the second half. And you're on to the next one. Listen, it's a 7-point game, so I don't even want to start discussing what it means or what kind of health Patrick Mahomes will be in. They just got to get through this one. And I'll be honest with you, they need to get through it without having to put him back in, right? If he's available, great, but you don't want to have to go there. And frankly, the Jaguars are still for God's sake, they're a 500 team, right? That's what they are. And the Kansas City Chiefs, if the personnel is good enough, should be able to beat a 500 team with a backup quarterback.
Well, I think that's the definition of a backup. Be a 500 quarterback, or best of 500 team when you're in, right? And we saw Matt Moore in the Super Bowl year. Took the Packers down to the wire, beat Minnesota. That got them the 2 seed. Ultimately, that win was essential for them to get the bye and ultimately win the Super Bowl. And obviously against Cleveland in 2020, Henny did his part. I think they were over glorifying him on the broadcast as if he won that game, when in reality it was the defense getting a stop and Henny making one run and one pass to Tyreek Hill. He was much more instrumental in that drive, picking up a couple third downs to Kadarius Toney and to Kelsey with the roughing the passer. So I think, this is just a game where they probably do have to run one double move to get the Jaguars out of the aggressiveness. And maybe that's to, Smith-Schuster, Valdez-Scantling, but I think it's going to be a Toney, a Kelsey, and a Pacheco and McKinnon game in the second half.
Yeah, I think so as well. What's your prediction? What do you got for the final score?
Yeah, so right now it's 17-10. I would say I still think this game goes under. I'll go 31-17.
31-17. You got 2 more. I will take it 26-24. I was big on the route, but I think it's field goal fest unless Isaiah Pacheco. No, let me show some more confidence. Let's go 30. Let's go 30-24 Chiefs. But I do think
they cover the teaser then.
Yeah, I think the spread's in big trouble. And I said all along, I love the route in this game. It is the only thing that could stop it would be Patrick Mahomes getting hurt. I think that's true. I think this game was going to be a rout. As I mentioned, Trevor Lawrence is doing nothing special in this game. The defense has held him to 10. If it's a 20-point day, that's a good day in the modern NFL against
the only touchdown drive came off of a long kickoff return, right? Which again, the special teams are a problem for this team, but so far we've seen at least them catch every punt and kneel every kickoff return. So they're mitigating the risk there.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so they're in the game. They're ahead in the game. We'll see if they can get it done. All right, we're going to let Eric, he's in transit now, get to his destination. We're going to get everybody else a chance to get back in their seats. We, of course, will be talking about it on the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast. 9 p.m. Central, we stream live. It's available a little bit after that, about 10:30, 11 o'clock Central via the podcast. And for Eric Eager from Sumer Sports, Jeff Chadilla, he's in the press box working on what's going on there from the NFL Network, NFL.com. My name is Soren Petro from Sports Radio 810 WHP. Remember, again, Tuesdays is when we stream the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast normally. Thanks for joining us for a quick halftime edition of the Red, Gold, and Bold.